Good morning, book lovers. I'm Peg, and that time of year has finally arrived that I love and wait for all winter, when I can sit out on my back porch and read. So I'm coming to you from my back porch this morning. I actually there's a golf course right behind me, and they're always mowing the golf course, so it might come into play, but we'll see. I know when other people make booktube videos and think that maybe the noise is interfering, it doesn't really. So we'll see if this does. If so, I guess I'll redo it inside. But today I thought I would talk a little bit more about books and less about book prizes. In fact, I may do that more often anymore. I won't quit talking about book prizes altogether, of course, but I might just refer to them lightly and talk more about the books I've read. So today I was out here reading, and it occurs to me the last 3 books I have read have had the same structure, kind of an unusual structure, and I'm wondering if that's a contemporary thing, or actually it depends on how well the author does it. But this structure actually starts with 4 or 5 different stories at the first, and you feel like you're almost reading a short story book, and then they all come together in various ways, and that's what really makes the story. And in all these, it does it in great ways. So I'll just talk about them a little. The first one I want to talk about is Nomen by Nick Harkaway. Now this is what I would call speculative fiction. Nick Harkaway, though he's pretty quiet about it, is the son of a famous author. His father is David Cornwell, better known as John le Carré, the famous writer of spy novels, who had just last year A Perfect Spy came out, which I've talked about at great length. Anyway, but Nick himself seems to stick with speculative type fiction, but his are just as complex and complicated and have as much depth as his father's did, maybe even more. So just roughly, I won't give you, I'll maybe talk more about this later, but this starts in a world in the future where, as many of them do, it's kind of a 1984, there's a government program called The Witness that can see what everybody's thinking and feeling and saying, and they have recently arrested an older woman, professor type, and they think she's done something, I'm not sure what. But we also have a detective, a woman detective, who comes into it, and she uses this technique where she can go into the brain of the woman, the criminal woman, or they think's a criminal woman. Okay, so that's where the different stories start. When she goes into the brain of the woman, it's almost like she has many dual personalities. I mean, the stories take place in different countries and different times, and then the first segment of this is these very different stories. So as time goes on, actually I haven't finished it. I really need to. I've put this on my hold for an electronic book at the library because there's so many names and so many things, and it's huge. I need to be able to take notes and refer back to it. So this is one of those where it's really better, I think, to read an ebook, so I can look back at when a person comes up. But I've read through all the different stories that are going to start coming together in this woman's brain in an interesting way, and it's really intriguing. It won't hurt me to reread it either. It takes a lot of concentration and thinking. Okay, the next one I have that's also made of the structure of having several different stories that come together is called The Maze at Windermere, and this is historical fiction. I'm surprised it wasn't on the Walter Scott list. It takes place, well, in different times in Newport, Rhode Island, which if you visit, it's a one-of-a-kind place. It has these beautiful mansions along the seacoast that were made in the early 1900s by the rich people who went to Newport to spend the summer. and they're called cottages, but they're not. And one of them actually is in fact called Windermere. And this again starts with 5 different time frames and stories of people, and they're all take place in Newport. They're like the earliest ones are in the 1600s up until the present day. And this author really put these stories together amazingly well. As you went on, I kind of got used to each story. Each was interesting in its own right, from the early ones to the later ones to the modern day. And as he went on, he was able to combine them. It's hard to explain, but through them going to the same places at each other, and it almost as if you had been there yourself, and then he went, you had been there many years ago, and then the character went, and you said, oh yeah, that happened to this character there at that point. It's hard to explain, but it was really done well. And if you've ever been there, it's really meaningful to read about it. And in fact, there is a maze at one of the cottages, and it plays quite a part in it. Okay, and the last one that has that same sort of structure is called Overstory by Richard Powers. He is one of my favorite authors. I think I've read most of his books through the years, but I just decided when this came out that I need to do a reread, maybe the summer of his different books. He's just a really smart guy, and he takes a long time to write each book, actually, and it's always quite a big deal when a new one comes out. And the Overstory, refers to trees, the canopy they make above, and I love this artwork. It also starts out with, I think, 5 different stories of people who, in the story, trees are important. It's hard to explain. They're almost a character. But he's such a good writer, and it's really well done. And actually, I'm not finished with this either, but I had to bring it in. I don't know where I am. Okay, anyway, but I know that he's such a great writer, and each story was so interesting in himself. I know it's going to be very interesting when he starts bringing these stories together, and he just makes trees come alive for you. Okay, that's what I'm reading out here. I'm also taking knitting while I'm out here. I alternate, and many of you, I've noticed, I have remembered that I'm making a rainbow afghan, knitting a rainbow wedding blanket for a same-sex wedding I'm invited to this summer. And I just thought rather than show you pictures this time, I thought I'd show you the real thing. Now, remember, it's going to have 10 stripes, and I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and a little bit of the 6, so I'm over halfway done. Yay! And now we're getting into bright colors too. So, okay, wish some of you were here to discuss with me out on the porch. Talk to you later. Bye.